So this is a question. I've always wondered, this is from Kami-sama on Twitter. I've always wondered about Fuchan's first thoughts on Vox and his current viewpoint of him.
My first viewpoint on you. Honestly, like I heard you talk about the very realistic parts of it a couple of months ago, where you were talking about when I first showed up, you were like, is this guy going to come in and steal my fans? Is he going to absolutely destroy me? Like my first viewpoint, like the first thing I ever heard from you was just like the little voice grabs that we always do. So you being like, oh, well, speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil.
And I just heard that and I was like, oh, this is going to be my counterpart? I'm fucked. Like, damn, his voice is so fucking sexy. His model is so freaking cool. He looks like fucking Hua Chung.
Hua Chung, yeah.
My favorite novels, like with the long dark hair. And I was like,
genuinely, like you're not even wrong. The amount of times I've seen art of Hua Cheng and retweeted it, thinking it was art of me.
I've seen you do that. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, that's definitely me.
I'm like, does he realize this is my boy Hua? It's so funny. Oh man, but yeah, no, that was my first impression. I was just like, oh, I hate this. I'm gonna be forever seen as like the inferior Lambro. I'm so angry. Why would they put me against this guy? Why wouldn't they put me against like somebody else, somebody simple to fight against? But yeah, no, then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna lean into that. I'm just gonna be chill. I don't really care. Like Nijisanji is just such a nice place to just if you get into Nijisanji, honestly, you're doing fine for like whatever you do. You just have to, from that point, decide. Like I've said this to you and the Luxium boys before, and I've said this on my own channel before, but I think only on membership streams, is that because Luxium did so well, I feel like the pressure was off for Noctix. Well, I personally showed up and I was like, because I had even said during the interview process, it was just straight up like, I'm never going to have a big fan base, but I want to have a fan base that are like devoted. I want to be devoted to my fans and give them what they want, and like I'm going to be into specific interests, and I'm not going to hide the weird specific interests that I'm into. It's going to scare away the masses, but the people that do show up are going to be people that like the kind of things that I like, and because of that, we're all going to feel quite closely knit because of that. And because of that, I was able to see you guys blowing up and just be like, oh, sweet, the pressure's off. I ain't going to be like massive. I'm going to fade into the shadows of obscurity. It's going to be fucking great. So yeah, at first it was like a scare thing where it was like, oh no, that's too much pressure. And then I was just like, no, fuck that. That's a good thing. I never wanted to get into this to be like massive. I wanted to get into this to just be able to share my interests and have a good time. And it really was like, we've talked about this a lot, like in private, the fact that most of us came from places where we weren't sure who we could trust in the communities around us. And we weren't sure who we could reach out to, who was just trying to use us, and if we'd look like we were using other people. And so getting into Nijisanji is just like, hey, these people have to work with us.
Like, they're contractually obligated. They don't have a choice. It's not my fault.
If I reach out to them, sure, they could say no, but they can't say, oh, you disgusting leech, go away from me. We're all in the same company. So I could just keep reaching out to them and be like, hey, guys, you want to play some Among Us? I mean, just want someone to backstab, please.
Among Us VR is looking really good. But you know, the interesting thing is that I think that you and I are really similar in that way. Like, the fact is, I think that it's so interesting because I think that everyone who joins Nijisanji does so with a very different idea of how they want to promote themselves as opposed to what they wind up doing after a little while. I mean, you know, like when I first joined, it was like, I want to do like ARGs and lore every day and all of this kind of stuff. And then suddenly, you know, I'm in a really different position. And I think also, you know, you and I have a similar sort of thing where one of my favorite things to do is to kind of introduce my audience to things they would never have normally seen. You know, some of my more niche interests, like sort of art films, obscure games, memes, humor, everything like that, TV shows. But then also, I think being a part of Luxium adds like a little bit of extra pressure. And maybe I adapted to that well, maybe I didn't, you know, by sort of like trying to adapt to that idea of what gets good viewership, what doesn't. And I really admire the way that you sort of went into this with a vision and just sort of did exactly what you wanted to do. You were like, I am going to share my interests, I'm going to play my favorite games, and I am going to write a story. and that's all, you know. And I really admire how like not like you just have this really devoted fan base who love you for having done that. And I think that without Nijisanji, it's so difficult to grow something like that, where all you are is yourself, but people love you for being yourself. Like, for me, when I first joined, I was like, I need to be this, like, super mysterious daddy character who everyone is like, oh my god, he's so cool. Oh my god, he played Dark Souls for 8 hours in his first week. Oh my god, he did this. When in reality, I'm a fucking, like impossibly, like, a neurodivergent gamer who barely remembers to wash himself and wakes up 10 minutes before stream and cries every day, and people like, but the weird thing is that when that becomes public knowledge, everyone is like, hey, we like you anyway. I was like, huh? Huh? You know, but they do, and it's bizarre, you know, and it makes me really happy to know that more people inevitably in the future will join Nijisanji, and they will then get to have that realization of, maybe I feel I should be this, but people actually love me when I am who I really am, you know.
That's the thing, yeah. There are so many people who, like you said, think they're going to have to like market themselves a certain way and then realize that that's like crushing them in some way, that they are not being themselves, that they are not able to grow an audience that way because it's feeling a bit fake. It's feeling too hard to deal with to keep the persona on continuously. And they let the mask slide a little bit and reveal a bit of their true selves. And then bit by bit, they realize that people don't care about that. Like, I remember one of the things I really tried to hide when I joined was my fucking wheezing laughter. So I was like, that's so fucking unattractive. If I do that once in front of people, like it's like a snort, people are going to laugh at me and hate it. And I think it was like within the first 2 weeks anyway that it came out for the first time. And like one of my biggest clips was people like laughing at my laugh and enjoying that. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you know how much I got bullied in school for that shit? Do you know how much people used to hate that shit?
Your laugh is the greatest fucking thing. It just lightens up any situation. And I had the same thing. I remember before I debuted, I was chatting with my friends and I genuinely said, like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here. Like, do I want to be this mysterious character? Because to be honest, when I laugh or when I get excited, my voice gets really high-pitched. And I was like, do they want that? Surely I should have a deep voice all the time. Surely I should have this deep, like, daddy dom voice 100% of the time. But then it turns out people absolutely love it when I see that picture of that content-aware scale dog and I start honking in this really high-pitched voice. You know.
That shit was hilarious, man. And then you posted it on Twitter and people were like, this is what I am.
That's all it was. It was the sequence of events.
You laughing becomes funnier than the actual original thing, which is even better. People are just laughing at you laughing at that point because it's like, the dog is kind of silly, but at the same time, the way Vox enjoys it so much, that's what makes us happy. That
dog absolutely killed me because I was just sat and I saw this image of a dog shitting on the floor and I was like, all right, that's funny. And then I see the magic bot slowly working and I was like, what the hell's going to go on? I see this dog just get put through a fucking hydraulic press and come out looking like fucking Earthworm Jim. And it just absolutely killed me. I've never laughed that hard on stream before, and I hope I get to laugh that hard again because it was fantastic. I've watched clips of that a bunch of times and I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad I was having a good time, you know, and that people like actually enjoyed that as well.
We get like a bunch of us together, that kind of feeling ends up happening. We get to the point where we forget we're streaming, and
we're just gaming.
That's probably one of the weaknesses of us as Nijisanji members is that there gets to a point, especially when Luca's around, where we just start sharing memes ourselves on the Discord server that would get us in trouble if we shared on the stream, because it's like, well, you can't just show that. It's like, it's not your property. Meanwhile, we're laughing our asses off and just having to describe things to people like, no, you have to see it. You have to see it. Look, this person posted on Twitter. Now you get it right. Now you get it right.
It's those big Tatsumachis are basically just a bunch of really unhinged friends having a Discord call, and then every once in a while we remember, oh yeah, thousands of people are listening. By the way, this is happening. You know, we just kind of forget that any of that is happening, and we're just fucking hanging out. And it's incredible because when I joined Nijisanji, I was like, I want that kind of an environment. You know, I want to just be able to hang out with the boys, the bros, the gang, you know, and we just sort of fuck around and we hang out, we post jokes and we just fuck with each other all the time. And that's that. And I thought when I joined, I was like, is this going to be too professional? Like, especially because Luxium were the first boys to join a group of all girls. And it was like, surely
I can't imagine how terrifying that was for the girls.
It was a little scary, you know, because I think that what they were experiencing as well is the fact that, like, yeah, we've had like this unity of being all girls and then having like 5 lads join, especially Luxium, who are like the boys, you know. I think it's interesting how Noctics have like that whole found family vibe, you know, and you guys are like very emotionally connected to one another and you have like this really wonderful dynamic and stuff. Whereas Luxium are just like a bunch of young blokes who are just like, where are all the fires in this town? What the fuck is going on, mate? You know, and we just sort of
were really lightning in a bottle kind of thing, because you guys are so different but work together so well with your different comedy styles.
I think what sums it up the best is that, to me, I think Luxium's personality was cemented when we had our first Minecraft collab, where it was 1 week after debut. The first week we had our prop night 1, which was a big part of it, but then in the second week we had our Minecraft collab, where we had me making all of my disgusting, dirty jokes, Mr. being just loud and unhinged, Ike being like, I hate it here, Luca pranking everyone, and Shu just calmly farming in the corner, just not minding any of it happening. That entire collab just told everyone, this is Luxium, these are our personalities, get used to it. And ever since then, it's just felt so easy to be ourselves, you know.